Coming up on this episode, the Warriors face their biggest challenge of the season to date with a daunting back-to-back against the Los Angeles Lakers and Denver Nuggets, yet they pass with flying colours with 2 wins that's sure to have people talking and starting conversations about what this team can do over the remainder of the season. Welcome back to the Golden State with Mates podcast after the Warriors get a huge 118-104 victory over the Denver Nuggets at Chase Center on Friday night. As you can see, I'm currently on location. Been a few internet issues at home at the best of times over the last couple of games. And on location at the moment. Thought probably not a great idea to try and do a live stream. So I apologize for that, but still obviously wanted to get some thoughts out on a podcast after this mammoth win, which now has the Warriors within half a game of the Nuggets, if you can believe that. It kind of makes me recall, obviously, the game against the Nuggets a couple of weeks ago where Jokic and Murray and Brown were all out and, Aaron Gordon goes for 38 points. It's crazy to think that if the Warriors had won that game, they would currently be ahead of the Nuggets in the standings right now and have home court advantage officially heading into the playoffs, or at least at this point with still 5 games to go. But there is still time for the Warriors to make up for that loss, and obviously winning today does help that. Now, the Lakers, I've just seen, have obviously beaten the Pelicans. I'll just double check that as I go through here. Yeah, the Lakers got a 124-108 victory, and the Clippers also beat the Mavericks, unsurprisingly. So the race in the Western Conference continues to heat up. I think the Warriors are now a full game behind the Lakers, who are third now. They're half a game behind the Nuggets, as I said, who are in fourth, the Warriors in fifth, and then that range of or raft of teams that continue to come up behind them, the Grizzlies, the Timberwolves, and the Clippers, the top 8. With 5 games to go now, you could throw a blanket over all of them. The Golden State Warriors can still finish anywhere between 3rd and 8th with 5 games to go, which is just ridiculous. It's remarkable, but it makes for great viewing, particularly if the Warriors can keep winning as they did in this game, which didn't start very well in general. I think the fact they gave up 44 points and were so bad in the first quarter, I mean, that was the best time to be bad because I didn't watch it. I did not start watching this game until halfway through the second quarter because NBA League Pass, I mean, there's been a lot of fans who have ripped into the NBA on social media as a result of this. I'm not sure what was going on. I'm not sure if there's been an explanation of sorts since, but basically people could not watch the game for like the first 18 minutes, the first quarter and a half. And that was really, really disappointing. You pay for a product and you don't get it to work. It's very disappointing. And then there's also issues with the Lakers-Pels game and the Mavericks-Clippers game as well. So that was really, really disappointing. But obviously I was following along to the scores. Looked like Nikola Jokic was simply doing what he wanted in the first quarter. I think he had 15 points. The Warriors up a little bit early, but then the Nuggets kind of took control. 44 points in the first quarter. Warriors really struggling with any kind of interior defense. And you think to yourself, okay, we've seen this story before. We saw what Aaron Gordon did last game. We've seen what Jokic has done to the Warriors in the past. The fact that the Nuggets are on a 9-game winning streak entering this one. And you think to yourself, as a Warrior fan, here we go again, right? And fortunately, Steph Curry got on a roll in the second quarter, 12 of his game-high 37 points coming in that second quarter. Was able to turn the tables from a 10-point deficit at the end of 12 minutes to a 6-point lead at halftime, 66-60. Some of the shot making again from Steph in this game was absolutely remarkable. And I wrote an article for Blue Man Hoop earlier today just about how good it is, how joyous it is to be able to watch Steph playing meaningful basketball. I know that's kind of been a hashtag that's been going around social media the last couple of days, but how good is it over these past 24 hours basically to see Steph go up against LeBron and now Steph to go up against Jokic and win both battles, right? And prove to the rest of the world, prove to the rest of the league that Stephen Curry is still, when locked in, when the games matter, is still a top 5 to 10 player in the NBA. He's still right up there. He might be top 3 still, right? The shot making of this guy is absolutely ridiculous. And it's really amazing to me. Like, it's astonishing that Steph is still capable of doing this at 37 years of age. And LeBron, for that matter, watching him yesterday and watching those two guys at their respective ages continue to do what they're doing, it's quite remarkable. And as I said on the post-game live yesterday, we can't take this for granted. We've got to appreciate it while it's still here. So while it's astonishing that Steph keeps doing this, It is just a continuation of Steph's brilliance, right? He's been doing this for well over a decade now, and it's a continuation of his stardom, of his legacy. We know who Steph Curry is, and yes, it's still astonishing and wild that he can still do this at 37 years of age. But the thing for me over this back-to-back that I think is more crucial to Golden State's success, both in the short and the long term, obviously, is the stunning, truly stunning form of Brandin Podziemski. And not to bring Jonathan Kuminga into this equation too much, because I think we as fans and analysts and whatever else, I suppose we bring Kuminga into conversations that he just doesn't need to be involved in whatsoever. And I've been frustrated with that. So I don't want to do that myself. But I think we've often looked at him as, okay, he's the rising star. He's the guy that can be the all-star caliber player for Golden State to, bridge the gap between the young guys and the old guys and to create some kind of a future beyond Steph and Draymond and obviously Jimmy Butler now. I think that's beginning to change. I think this latest back-to-back, and Kuminga was really, really good yesterday against the Lakers, less so in this game against the Nuggets, but he was really, really good yesterday. But what we've seen from Pods over the past 24 hours is truly special, and I think could be the start of something where it's no longer Kuminga, it's Podziemski, who might be that number one young guy who you can point to and say, hey, even when Steph retires, there might be something here, right? This is the guy that can take the mantle as the face of the franchise. And even for me to put Pods in that conversation and say this guy could be the face of the franchise, I still feel a bit weird about that and maybe a bit concerned about that. But at the same time, I feel like it's a reasonable conversation to have after two performances in the past 24 hours that have been absolutely extraordinary. So he goes for 28 yesterday against the Lakers, 8 of 10 on threes, has 22 points in the first half, 6 of 7 shooting from deep, 6 rebounds, hits that near half-court buzzer beater in a game featuring Steph, LeBron, Jimmy, and Luka Doncic. Pods was the best player on the floor in the first half. It was truly remarkable. And then in this game, again, goes 4 of 8 from 3. What was he? 26 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, plus 11 in the game, couple of steals. Just a truly extraordinary 2-game performance from Brandin Podziemski. And this comes after he was a bit quieter against Memphis on Tuesday, but obviously had that huge tip-in layup over Ja Morant in the final 90 seconds. And then the game before that against the Spurs, he had a then career high in threes with 7. So the last 3 of the last 4 games, he's gone 7 threes, 8 threes, and now 4 threes, and he's having 20-plus point performances. And this is kind of changing the trajectory of who we thought he could be as a player, from really nice, high-end role player, potentially give you, 15 to 20 points, but do all the winning plays as well with the rebounding, the playmaking, the ability to draw charges, all that kind of stuff. Now, as I said after the post-game live yesterday, if he's going to be a guy that can hit threes consistently, can even do other stuff like pull up mid-range as we saw in this game, get to the basket with some of his crafty footwork, which he's always had, but sometimes he doesn't necessarily capitalize on. If he's going to be this guy and he's going to be a guy that can get you 20 plus points a game, then that completely shifts what we think the Warriors can be from a short-term perspective and also a long-term perspective, right? And I think that's the biggest thing for me over this back-to-back. It's not necessarily Steph's greatness, because we know Steph Curry is great. He's been that way for years. But this is something brand new from Brandin Podziemski. It simply is. It's like, this is a level of basketball in high-stakes games where it's not the playoffs, but it's the closest thing that you could possibly get to it, against 2 really, really good teams, one on their home floor, the second on the second night of a back-to-back after you've been on a 14-day road trip. You've played 6 games on the road. You come home, you're tired. And for him to produce these 2 performances is truly extraordinary, as I keep saying. Like, there's no other words to put into it, but it's just, it does shift the way in which we have to view the Warriors. And to me, I'm viewing Pods right now as kind of the X factor for the Warriors moving forward into the playoffs, because as some of you guys commented yesterday on the live stream, if Pods and Kuminga are going to be this good entering the playoffs, then they are going to be really, really hard to beat. And I think that's true. Like, if Brandin Podziemski is going to be this guy for the Warriors in the playoffs, And like, there's still a ways to go. Like, the Warriors still have to secure their playoff spot. There's still 5 games to go. They could still very, very easily drop into the play-in tournament, right? They've still got eyes now on home court advantage in the playoffs, which is truly like, imagine saying that at the end of January when they were 11th and under 500, that the Warriors with 5 games to go would be 5th and have a legitimate shot at getting 3rd. Truly, truly as drastic a turnaround as I can remember, really, from a team. It's truly stunning, but Pods has been a huge part of that. And if he's going to be this in the playoffs and Steph's going to continue to play at his great level and Jimmy is just going to do what Jimmy does and he's got another level to go to, and he was better in this game. He obviously only had 11 points against the Lakers yesterday. He goes for 19 in this game. Again, 6 of 6 from the free throw line. That really big 3 early in the fourth quarter where the possession was going nowhere, and then he bails out with like a corner/wing 3. Over Aaron Gordon or over Michael Porter, over someone, and just swishes it at the buzzer. That was huge. And then I think the next possession he goes down and gets 2 free throws. Anyway, he gets 19 points and 5 assists in this game. But to me, it was his defense more than anything. His off-ball ability. He does gamble sometimes, but often those gambles pay off where he's coming kind of weak side and he helps out and, pokes the ball away and stuff like that. He had 5 steals in this game. The Nuggets had a season high 25 turnovers, and that was the difference. The Nuggets put up 44 points in the opening period and yet score 60 for the remainder of the game. 60. And that was with Jokic going for 33 on 13 of 17 shooting. Like, couldn't have been more efficient. He was jacking up threes and making them early in the second half. It was pretty shocking to watch. But I look back at it and I think to myself, if Jokic is going to go for 33, that's kind of what I expect. That's not truly shocking for Jokic. Jokic is like 33 is a good day for him, but it's not a great day. The man just went for a 61-point triple-double a couple of days ago. Like, 33 points isn't really much. And so the Warriors did a really good job, I think, defensively. And as good as Steph was with his 37 points, as good as Pods was with his 26 points, Jimmy with his 19, it was the defense that really came to the fore in the final 3 quarters, where after the first quarter, you thought, okay, we're in a little bit of trouble here. The Nuggets have put up 44. Jokic is doing whatever he wants on the floor, getting other guys involved. You thought, okay, this could be a long game, particularly on the second night of a back-to-back. But for the Warriors to kind of grit their teeth and really fight defensively, that was the difference in the game, and forcing the Nuggets into 25 turnovers. Like, the Nuggets still shot reasonably well from the field. What were they, like 40? I think they were over 50% from the field, 54.1% and 38.7% from 3. So they still shot the ball efficiently. But again, it was the turnovers, and Golden State forced a lot of that with their pressure and physicality. And Jimmy Butler was a big part of that. But if Jimmy... I went into this back-to-back thinking he's going to have to be really, really, really good. He's going to have to be great for the Warriors to even win one of these 2 games. Like, he's going to have to come with a couple of 25-plus point performances to be the supplementary guy next to Steph. And he wasn't. And he didn't need to be, because Pods all of a sudden was that, like, supplementary guy next to Steph. He was the Robin to Steph's Batman over these last couple of games, which, again, you would have thought going into it that it had to be Butler, right? No, it's Pods. 28 points, 26 points. And again, if he's going to be doing that in the playoffs, Warriors are going to be really hard to beat, because we kind of know what we're going to get from Steph. Steph's in great form now. Steve even said that, like, the kind of pelvic contusion that he had, a couple of weeks ago now against the Raptors and the couple of games off might have actually been a good thing for him. And so you have that aspect. You get him a little bit more refreshed. I think Jimmy's got another level to go to, and I'm pretty confident that he's going to get there. And the fact that the Warriors can be this good and beat these 2, high caliber teams in the Lakers and Nuggets without him actually going to that next level offensively, I think is really good. We know what Draymond's going to bring defensively. He's locked in. He's locked in on wanting to win depoy. He's locked in, obviously, on the team aspect and wanting to not be involved in the play-in tournament and make sure to get a top 6 seed. So we know what the veteran stars are going to bring. But if Brandin Podziemski can all of a sudden be this, this level of player that is multiple steps ahead of what we thought he would be or what we thought he was earlier in the season. Like, this is a completely different player than what we saw at the start of the season. A completely different player. And he's taking and making shots at a really, really high level. And it's not just catch and shoot stuff. Like, there is a lot of catch and shoot stuff simply off the presence of Steph and Jimmy and the spacing they provide and the open shots they therefore create for Pods and Moses. But there's other stuff where Pods is, taking guys off the dribble, either again pulling up to mid ranges or getting to the basket using some smart footwork and getting inside. And this is, again, I'll say it like I've said it before, like this is the guy that the Warriors envisaged, when they didn't want to trade him in the offseason, right? They thought, okay, we've got a potential all-star caliber guard on our hands. We're not going to just give that away. And they've been proven right at this point. Now, there's still plenty to play out, right? It's only a couple of games, but for him to do this again against this quality of opposition with the stakes being this high, it's amazing. It is a game-changing element for Golden State. And I think all their young guys have kind of, and I said this yesterday after the game in the live stream, their young guys have stood up, right? Their young guys aren't afraid of the moment. Moses, I think, he's not necessarily blowing you away, but he's been solid. Kuminga was really good yesterday, again, less so today. And I think his up and down nature is still going to cause some concerns here and there. But ultimately, you're still going to need him for 18 to 25 minutes a game, depending on how he's playing. If he's playing really well, then he might get closer to 25 to 30. If he doesn't quite have it, then, maybe it's closer to 15 to 18. We'll wait and see. The same can be said for Quentin Post. He's going to get hunted defensively a little bit. We know that, but we saw yesterday with some of the trash talking between him and LeBron and Luka and stuff like that. That guy's not going to back down. And he's got the veteran players out there to kind of back him up in Draymond and Steph and Jimmy. So I don't know. I said going in, if you go back to the preview episode I did before the Lakers game, I said if the Warriors win these two games, we're going to have to start having a different conversation on what this team can do. Because at that point, I thought, okay, this is a really great turnaround. The fact that we're in this position, we look like we're going to make the playoffs. That's a great spot to be in. But at that point, I didn't think that, hey, this team is a genuine championship contender. I said if they win these two games, we're going to have a different conversation, and I do believe that. And that's why I think I'm looking at this team now, and all of a sudden my expectations have risen from, it'd be nice if we win a playoff series, maybe, we fight really hard against, get to 6 or 7 games in the first round of the playoffs, to no, like, at this point, after watching these two games, I'd be disappointed if we don't make the West Finals at a minimum. I'd be disappointed if we don't win 2 playoff series. That's how good Steph Curry is playing. That's how much of an impact Jimmy Butler's had. That's how good Brandin Podziemski is playing. That's how locked in and great that defensively that Draymond's been. So, wow. Like, I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments. Where do you, at this point, after watching these 2 games, what's your expectation? Where would you be seeing this team end up? What's the pass mark? What would be disappointing now? Because I think the level just continues to rise to a point that the expectations have to rise with them. And all of a sudden, I'm now looking at this team as, hey, you can legitimately be a Western Conference finalist. You have just beaten... There'll be a lot of people out there that have the Nuggets and the Lakers as the second and third best teams behind the Thunder in the Western Conference. And the Warriors have just gone out and beaten them by a combined 21 points in a back-to-back, one of them at Crypto in LA, one of them on their home floor after a long road trip. This is a statement. This is a statement performance from the Warriors in back-to-back games. And as I said before, it's not just about the standings. It's not just about the fact that they're now nearly eyeballing the Nuggets for a top 4 seed in the West and potential home court advantage in the playoffs for the first round. It's about the belief. And I think that's the biggest part of this is, to me as a fan, I actually now really, really believe in this team as a legitimate contender. And I think for the players and the coaches, they're probably already gone to bed now, but they could go to bed now and think to themselves, we got a real shot. Not just a Draymond coming out the All-Star break saying we're going to win the championship and everyone's kind of laughing at him. Draymond can say that now and people are like, we're not laughing at you anymore. You might have been on something there, right? So I don't know. It's just special. It really is special. It's almost makes you emotional to be able to see these guys, Steph and Draymond particularly, because of what they mean to the franchise and what they've done in the past, for these guys to be in this position again where they can attack the playoffs and say to themselves, we got a real shot. We got a chance of doing something pretty special here. And for Jimmy to come in and have the impact that he's had, and for the young guys to come along for the ride and not just come along for the ride, but step up in a way that Brandin Podziemski has, this is special. This is special. The Warriors could be on the brink of something special. In saying all that, again, there's still plenty of work to do. There's the Rockets on Sunday. They've been in some really, really good form. Still the 2 seed in the Western Conference. But if you go into this 4-game span, the Warriors had Memphis, Los Angeles, Denver, and Houston. I thought if you could go 3-1 in this 4-game sequence, you're doing really, really well. They've already gone 3-0, right? And that's not to say they should have a letdown against Houston. They still badly need to win that game. Again, one loss, they could be back in the play-in tournament. That's how well everyone is playing in the West right now. But the fact that they've been able to get these victories against teams above them in the West says a lot about this team and what they could potentially do in the playoffs. So Rockets on Sunday, still a couple of, what do we got? The Trailblazers to come, the Suns to come. Obviously, the final game of the season against the Clippers is going to be a huge one as well. And then we got the play-in tournament. We'll wait and see what happens there. Hopefully, the Warriors. I like the play-in tournament. I really, really like the play-in tournament when the Warriors aren't in it. I love watching it. Unless your team's actually involved. I don't want to borrow it from a Golden State perspective. I was speaking to someone last night about it. I said, you've got a whole 82 games to figure it out and figure out who's the top 8 in the West. And the fact that there's such a gap between the 8th seed and the 9th seed right now, I think it would be a real shame and a real travesty if, one of the Mavericks, Kings, or Suns were to sneak in and be the 8th seed in the West. That would be a real problem. But it's just the nature of it. It's the NBA wanting to make more money and having, a greater spectacle. And I get it. As I said, I like the play-in tournament, aside from when the Warriors are playing, right? And I think that's probably the case for most fans. So we'll wait and see. It's going to be a fascinating final week of the regular season and then the playoffs ahead. But the fact the Warriors have been able to win these 2 games, I think, completely has changed my mindset on what I think this team can achieve over the next couple of months here. So let me know again what your expectations now are on the team and how they've changed on the back of these back-to-back performances. Thank you very much to everyone who has tuned in. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already, that would be greatly appreciated. You can follow me on X/Twitter at POK252. That's POK252. Once again, thanks again for the ongoing support. I'll be back home for a post-game live after the game on Sunday against the Houston Rockets. Hopefully you can tune in for that one.